Alrighty, guys, welcome to our weekly Outlook webinar. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Today is Sunday, October 22nd, 2017. Appreciate you guys joining us today. If it is your first time, welcome. My name is David Schinkel. I'm the CEO and founder of Positive Traders. I do the Sunday webinar just about every single Sunday for you guys for free to give you guys my outlook, my perspective on the market for the next week. I've been doing this for a little bit over a year now, almost a year and a half, and I appreciate you guys' support. If you guys are watching the recording, I really appreciate you guys. Let's go ahead and jump right into things, though. My disclaimer, as always, is understand that this analysis is just from my point of view, okay? So this is just my opinion on what's going to happen to the markets. And second to that is this is weekly analysis. This is my long-term outlook in the markets, okay? So what we go over, if I say I'm looking at buying this pair, I'm looking at selling that pair, understand that this is a weekly outlook. That seller, that buy may not happen until come Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Sometimes I don't actually usually place any trades on Sunday. I usually wait for the daily candle to close for the beginning of the week and start looking for trades come Monday. My favorite days to trade are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I don't like trading Sundays or Fridays. So let's go ahead and jump right into things. Let's look at the economic calendar starting off the week. Going through the economic calendar, if you guys scroll through it, there's not a whole lot this week. We do have, I'd say Wednesday is definitely going to be our key risk day. We definitely want to be careful. But even on Wednesday, as long as you aren't trading really any CAD pairs, there's really not a whole lot to worry about this week. We can see Monday's very light. Tuesday's very light. We do have some Australian dollar CPI coming out Tuesday evening, and it is quarter over quarter, okay? It's not month over month, so it is going to have a little bit higher impact on the Australian dollar than a month over month CPI, so definitely have, definitely make sure if you if you are in an AUD cross pair, around 8:30 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow, or Tuesday, I'm sorry, that you are aware that there is some Australian dollar news. Wednesday, again, very light. We have preliminary GDP for GBP, so obviously be aware of that. We have some core durable goods orders for the dollar, and then we have, we have CAD is going to be, if you guys can see the Canadian dollar overnight rate. Overnight rate is another fancy word for interest rates, okay? The Canadian dollar, the Canadian economy is going to decide if they are going to keep, or the Bank of Canada, I guess, is going to decide if interest rates are going to stay the same, if they're going to increase them, if they're going to decrease them. But based on this forecast here, it looks like there's a good probability that they're just going to keep interest rates the same. But I still wouldn't recommend touching any CAD pairs around that time. Thursday is very light. We have some Euro news. We have a European Central Bank press conference in the morning. And Friday, we have some advanced GDP quarter over quarter. That should be a market mover for a slight market mover for the dollar, because it is a quarter over quarter report rather than, again, like a month over month report. As you guys know, the strength in of impact month over month is going to have the least impact, or it's going to be the least impactful, I should say. Quarter over quarter is going to be the second most impactful, and then finally the most impactful is going to be year over year. So that's that. Just definitely have your economic calendar open this week, but over pretty much the next 24, 48 hours, not a whole lot to worry about. So let's jump into the markets. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time on the dollar today, and then the rest of the time we're going to just kind of be zooming through the rest of the pairs, because pretty much as long as we're analyzing the dollar and we're looking at what the dollar is doing, that's going to give us a very good idea, very good clues as to what the rest of the market, or at least what the rest of these 9 pairs that I trade are doing. So looking at the dollar index last week, we saw definitely a lot of indecision in the markets. So let's just quickly recap price action from last week. Last week, markets opened up right here. That's the beginning of last week's candle. We saw it move up to this previous resistance around the 94 level area. Price definitely sellers rejected the buyers in that area, and we came right back down to this very significant level. Now, some of you guys that are tuning in for the first time, I do just want to give you guys some insight of what this green line is. This is multi-year support. So if we actually throw this on the weekly and zoom out a bunch, you guys will see that this 93.2 level, we have a range, okay? This is our range that we have been playing in with the dollar for a couple years now, okay? So this is actually 2015 when it entered this range. So almost 3 years, over 2.5 years of moving sideways on this pair. on this index, we did see it break out late last year, and then the beginning of 2017, we saw the dollar start to correct and find quite a bit of weakness, and it dropped past this pretty significant level at 93.2, and now we are back above this level. So price is really fighting around. If we actually zoom into and kind of scale in a little bit down here, we can see price is definitely fighting around this area. I personally believe that just based on price action. So what we were expecting, if you guys remember in Telegram and Slack, we were looking for, now we didn't take a trade based off this, which is nice because it obviously wouldn't have gone the direction we were expecting. But after we saw this formation last week and we saw this rejection in this area, we were expecting some weakness of the dollar. But the nice thing is that price action can change our perspective on the market very easily. So we see this dollar, this Friday candle. If you guys noticed on Friday, the dollar rallied. We saw a lot of movement on Friday. These markets were very volatile. We saw this area, this 93.2 level, completely get rejected and the support hold. So moving into this week, and also if you look at the weekly candle is looking very nice as well. The previous to last week, we were looking at selling the dollar just because of last week's bearish engulfing candle, and it was kind of hovering around this area. We weren't looking at selling the dollar until we got some confirmation to the downside, so that's why trading was a little light in the premium group last week. As we were looking for confirmation, there was a lot of indecision going. At one point it looked like it was going up, at another point it looked like it was going down, but I think Friday gave us a lot of clarity, especially with the daily candle and the way the weekly candle closed, of which direction the markets want to move this week. I don't talk about moving averages too much because I do not preach trading off of indicators. I really like just using, if you are going to use an indicator, like in this case, I have my moving averages. I have the 100 moving average and the 200 moving average on my charts. They're both simple moving averages. We can see, just to add kind of to our analysis, this is definitely by no means the reason we're buying the dollar, not just because it's finding some support at the 200 SMA. It's all technical. It really has to do with the support at the 93.2 level that we're finding right now. But that just adds to our evidence, right? It adds to our conviction of buying the dollar. So I'm going to be looking for overall, guys, let me just make that very clear that this week I will be looking for maybe major, maybe not major, but I am still looking for some solid moves to the upside. We can see price is capped very well around this resistance area, kind of like right around where we're at right now, which is, let's just call it 94. Okay, so once 94 breaks, I think we're going to see some appreciation of the dollar. And let me also just say that from a technical standpoint, we're bullish. We just explained why we're bullish on the dollar. But from a sentimental and fundamental standpoint in the markets right now, if you guys are not familiar with the Federal Reserve, if you guys don't keep up with the Federal Reserve news, that's okay. Especially if you're new to Forex, you're just kind of taking everything in. It might be a little bit overwhelming, having to learn how to read the charts as well as following news. So I don't expect all of you guys to understand what's going on behind the scenes with the dollar right now. That's why I do these webinars, is so I can enlighten some of you guys that are more on the beginner side of what's happening in the economy right now. But if you guys are familiar with the Federal Reserve, there is over a 50% chance, and that percentage is actually rising, but right now it's over 50% chance that they are going to raise interest rates before 2018. If you guys are familiar with the Federal Reserve as well, they have 8 chances per year to raise interest rates, or 8 decisions per year. Most of the time, as you guys know, they leave interest rates the same, but we have seen a couple hikes this year, and it looks like we could see one more hike this year. And I don't have all the time in the world right now to explain why, guys, but when interest rates go up, that generally is good for whatever economy or whatever central bank is raising the interest rates. And if they lower interest rates, that's generally bad for that central bank. So that being said, if we add all that together and put 2 plus 2 together, if they're looking at raising interest rates, then we're looking at some strengthening of the dollar. So what my opinion is right now is, if we see the dollar rise, not only from a technical standpoint do we have some support to the upside and we have conviction to the upside, but we also are expecting the markets, the banks, the people that actually move the markets, banks, hedge funds, those type, people that are managing hundreds of billions or tens of billions of dollars or even hundreds of millions of dollars are looking at buying the dollar in expectance that it's going to strengthen long term with interest rates rising. So that again adds to, so we have technical conviction to the upside and both sentimental and fundamental conviction to the upside. So lots of eyes on the upside of the market for the dollar this week. So definitely, if this wasn't clear enough, guys, write it down. Look for the dollar to strengthen this week, okay? So what does that mean for gold? Well, if there's strong gold, if there's a strong dollar, that usually means weaker gold. So I'm going to be expecting gold to follow through to the downside this week. Again, last week we didn't see what we wanted. We were expecting a bullish gold on a weakening dollar, but we didn't get that. We can actually see that weekly candle just completely rejected the previous week's rally, and we're actually breaking multi-week lows right now. So 2 weeks ago, that was our low point, and we actually just broke it right now. So I'm expecting downside on gold. We could see price range between the 1260 and 1250 level this week. We can actually see gold moving down quite a bit right now. So look for downside on gold because we're looking for strength on the dollar. Euro USD, as you guys know, Euro USD and gold have a very strong positive correlation to each other. So obviously we know that the euro dollar and dollar index have a very negative correlation to each other, very strong negative correlation to each other. So if we are expecting the dollar to appreciate and we're expecting the dollar index to move up, we're expecting Euro USD to move down. Now, one setup that I do just want to show you guys that I am looking at, and I just want to give a quick shout out to Reginald. I believe, Reginald, it was you, if you're in here listening last week in the premium webinar, you pointed out a potential head and shoulders forming, and we definitely are getting that head and shoulders. It has not confirmed yet. The formation is not completed yet, but I'll quickly draw out this head and shoulders. Most of you guys that have been trading for a while can probably see this. We've got a nice head and shoulders starting to form, right? That this formation will be complete once this level gets broken. Once this neckline, the bottom of this blue area, which is also some good confluence with our Fibonacci extension level, our 38.2% retracement level, and then also we have found just some technical support in this area. So if I delete that and we can see the support, this green box right here. So this is a very good setup on this pair. I think if Euro USD breaks this level, that we're definitely, I think there's a nice 100, 200 pips to the downside. We could see the 115 level reached. We could be getting down closer to 114 to 113 as we continue to move, as the market continues to price in a rate hike towards December. So be watching this level. So I'll just kind of mark off this level. Let's see exactly what level this is. 1.1722. So let's just call it the 117.20 area. So this area right here, right around the 117.20 area, I would write that down in your trading journals. Watch for a break of 117.20, and if price breaks 117.20, we're probably going to see price move down towards the 116 level, which is going to be our sorry guys, I just accidentally went into full screen for a second. Did not mean to do that. This would be our next target, 116, which is right around this 50% retracement level of this swing. So look for some downside on Euro USD throughout this week. USD Swiss franc, not super interested in trading this pair. I do think we're going to see upside on this pair, but it is around a pretty significant previous support level. But of course, obviously, and then we also have this trend line, this resistance trend line moving down. So I don't like how we have a lot of pressure stopping this pair from moving up, but I do believe that if we see the dollar continue to move up, we'll see this pair move up as well. So more so I'd be watching Euro USD above everything. Let's go ahead and look at pound dollar very quickly. Pound dollar, some of you guys that were in the premium group on our Friday webinar, when price was right around this area, we were looking at selling, or we were looking at downside on pound dollar, and we were looking for this as our target, and that is because that was actually our 161.8 extension level. So we actually drew two different extension levels. We drew one extension level right here, and we can see that it's right in the middle of that green box right there, and then we also checked out this extension level right here, which happened to be the exact same thing. right there to, hold on guys, let me go to the 1 hour. Just a moment. 1 hour, we were looking at two different extensions. We were looking at this extension right here, which was, you can see our 161.8 down here. That was a target. And then second one was right around this area. So we're looking right around this zone for price to move to. We actually saw price spike down to that early Friday, and price ended up rallying throughout the end of Friday. So what is my bias for this week? I think we could, charts look a little bit cluttered right now on pound dollar. Let me just delete a few things on here. Delete that. This trend line right here we have on the 4 hour. Let's see what this trend line is doing on the 4 hour. Just a small trend line on the 4 hour. I'm expecting upside on this pair. I think we'll see some more upside on this pair throughout this week. But overall, I would sit on the sidelines with pound dollar right now. I mean, we know that generally in appreciating dollar, a stronger dollar is generally a weakening pound dollar, but we have seen some pound strength recently. So I'd say just like dollar Swiss franc, let's sit on the sidelines. I think we could see some upside on this pair, but overall, I think the price action is a lot better on Euro USD. There's some other pairs we're going to be looking at. AUD USD has some very clean price action. USD CAD has some clean price action. Dollar yen has some clean price action as well. So let's move on. Pound yen, I am expecting upside on pound yen. We actually saw the markets gap up. We're finding some really nice support in this area. So if you guys can see, just from a very, very technical standpoint, we can see our previous resistance zone finding some support in this area. So that is some higher time framed analysis for just very simple horizontal support and resistance. In this case, it's acting as support. And then we can also see on our Friday daily candle too, very, very big bullish move in the market on Friday. And that is expected. Obviously, you guys know the correlations between pound yen and gold and dollar index, right? If we see a stronger dollar, we generally will see a weaker gold. And you guys know that gold and pound yen, or if you don't know, definitely now you know and you can write it down. Gold and pound yen have a very strong negative correlation to each other. So what does that mean? If we're expecting the dollar to strengthen, which means we're expecting gold to drop, and we know that gold and pound yen have a negative correlation to each other, then we're expecting pound yen to rise. So these correlations, there is a method to my madness, to the reason why I trade the pairs that I trade. So expect upside on pound yen this week. Definitely expect upside on pound yen. I mean, we might even get up to our previous highs. I mean, you guys know how pound yen moves. It's pretty crazy. We could be seeing quite a bit of moves to the top side this week. We could see the 153 level broken. It'll be just kind of interesting to see where price goes. But I think that these previous highs around this area, around the just below 153, it's about the 152.80 area, expecting price to retest that area. Maybe not this week, but more than likely this week. But I think we are looking for upside on pound yen. So watch for upside on that. Same thing with dollar yen. Definitely expecting a strong impulse to the upside with this pair. I know that there's a lot to look at with this. Let me delete a couple things so I can kind of clear up the charts a little bit. Let's delete that for now. We'll go ahead and delete that for now. And we will delete, no, we'll keep that there for now. But we had this wedge that we were talking about for quite a while. If you guys have been following along for a while, we've talked about this wedge for quite some time. You guys can obviously see we broke out of this wedge for a while, came back into the wedge, played in this wedge for a while, broke to the downside, small fake out, and now we are back to the upside. What direction do I think this pair is going? I think this pair is going up because I'm expecting the dollar to continue to strengthen. And that's also nice because generally when you see the dollar strengthen, you'll see gold weaken, you'll see the Japanese yen weaken. The Japanese yen has a very strong correlation to gold. They usually move very similarly to each other. So the yen, if you guys are not familiar with the pound yen is, I'm sorry, not the pound yen, the Japanese yen is treated as a safe haven currency, very similarly to how gold is treated. So when you see buying in gold, you see buying in yen. When you see a sell-off in gold, you see the sell-off in yen. So that definitely helps with our analysis that if we're expecting upside on this pair and we're seeing that sell-off on gold over here, then we're expecting the sell-off on the yen, which would be up on this chart. And same thing with dollar moving up. You know, dollar appreciating, we're expecting upside on this pair as well. So Lots of conviction to the upside on this pair. Lots of conviction on pound yen to move to the upside as well. Looking at AUD USD, I think that there's a lot of downside on this pair this week. We can very clearly see that the week closed off pretty nicely. I mean, it definitely rejected the previous week's rally. Oops, let me go ahead and put this back. Sorry, guys. Put that back to right there. There we go. We can see our different levels. Let's go ahead and just delete a couple things real quick. Delete this, delete. No, that's everything that we'll keep right now. So I think our next target for AUD USD, I would definitely write this down. Our next target on AUD USD is around the 7750, between the 7700 and the 7750 area. So definitely nice 50 to 100 pip move to the downside this week. We can see on the weekly that I think we're going to actually go back down to retest this previous weekly resistance. So see this green zone right here. That also so happens to be our 50% retracement level of this rally. So expect AUD USD to fall to at least 77.50 this week. If it goes down to 77, that is awesome, but definitely expecting some downside on this pair. Paul, yes, how long until New Zealand dollar settles after election news? Bears possibly. Yeah, so that's actually another thing to look at. So if you guys are wondering, some of you guys that might be newer in the market, again, maybe not following the economic events as much, you guys noticed that on Friday and Thursday and Friday of last week, we saw a huge sell-off on the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, and that is because of the elections. There is a new prime minister in New Zealand. We took, if you guys don't know, there was, I believe the election for the new prime minister was September. It was either the 21st or the 23rd of last month. I want to say the 23rd of September. And it does take them almost an entire month to announce the winner, or it did take them almost an entire month to announce the winner. Her name is, I forget her last name, but her first name is Jacinda. I know that for sure. And she is the new prime minister, going to be the new prime minister of is the new prime minister of New Zealand. So, she is the prime minister elect, and I think that we could see more downside on this pair. I definitely would not recommend trading New Zealand dollar, US dollar right now, or any New Zealand dollar cross pairs right now, just because of the fundamental news and the sentiment revolving the New Zealand dollar right now. I think they are expecting a weaker New Zealand dollar, which definitely helps be a catalyst to the downside, especially because, you know, even if there wasn't any New Zealand dollar news right now, I'd still be expecting downside on this pair just because of dollar strength, US dollar strength in general. So I would say downside on this pair is probably imminent. Same thing with AUD USD, as they both have a pretty strong correlation to each other. So expect more downside on this pair. We could see this previous weekly support retested. So we saw some big moves last week, and we're back. We're almost testing. Is this yearly lows? Yeah. There's the beginning of 2017. Let's see, 2017. Yeah, right here. Yeah, this is yearly lows that we're getting towards. So the 78, right around the 78 level, so about 100 pips lower, about 120 pips lower, marks our yearly lows. So I would not be surprised if price goes down to test our yearly lows sometime soon. So watch for downside on AUD USD and NZD USD. And finally, USD CAD. I think we're looking for some upside on this pair. So this is a pair that did not go as followed last week either, as you guys know, going into last week, just based on price action. And I am not afraid, guys. I'm not one of those people, like, I'm not afraid to admit our faults. You know, that's why I always say traders are going to be wrong sometimes, right? It's okay to be wrong. You cannot expect anybody in the Forex markets to be right 100% of the time. Obviously, leading up to last week, we've had some very strong weeks. We've had some very strong analysis. Last week, our outlook for a weaker dollar did not come through, and that's okay. We just react to the markets, and we come back into this week and just ready to smash the markets. You know, it always goes back to why I talk about risk management, right? Last week, if you watched my webinar and you just automatically went to any pair and you were selling the dollar on any pair, you probably ended up with a blown account if you weren't using proper risk management. But because we took a trade on this pair last week, I think we took a sell on USD CAD. I believe it was USD CAD, hit our stop loss. It's okay. We lost 2% on our trade copier account. Not a big deal. We come into this week and we're going to make 5, 10, 15% in the markets this week. So I lose zero sleep over a losing trade because I'm using proper risk management on my trades. So leading into the analysis for this week, USD CAD, I am expecting USD CAD to go higher. We saw a lot of consolidation happen last week. I think that, our analysis was pretty strong in this area. We were seeing a nice rejection in this area, but just the sentiment revolving the US dollar. And then we also saw some news for the US dollar for the Canadian dollar on Friday. If you guys, let's just go back to Friday for just a moment. Friday morning on the 20th, there was some CPI that came out and some core retail sales. And as you guys can tell, way, way, way worse than expected. So if you guys are wondering why USD CAD spiked on Friday, this is why. We see, obviously, and this again, I always tell you guys, don't trade the news, don't gamble on the news, just don't risk it. Like, why risk it? Makes no sense. Forex is not a get rich quick way. If you look at Forex as a way to gamble your money, you're gonna literally lose it all. I'm just being straight up with you guys, and this is just a perfect example, right? I'm sure there were a ton of people that were probably expecting the Canadian dollar to strengthen, right? Because we see the previous 0.1%, previous 0.2%. We see the forecast. Oh, forecast is a little bit better than the previous month. Forecast is a little bit better than the previous month. Okay. So people are probably buying based off of the forecast, which makes no sense, guys. I only use the economic calendar to see past what's happened in the past or after something has happened. I never look at the economic calendar and place a trade based off of what the forecast is going to be. So we can see right here that obviously anybody that bought the Canadian dollar got extremely burnt. We saw core retail sales come in way, way worse than expected. Negative 1% than expected, right? Came in negative 0.7, but you do the difference, a negative 1% difference. And then we had the CPI come in as well, negative 5% difference. So horrible news for the Canadian dollar, which if you ask yourself looking at this chart, if there's bad news that comes out or weak news for the Canadian dollar, which way should the markets move? Up, right? Because that's going to be a strengthening dollar and a weakening CAD. So again, into this week, I think that, aside from the CAD weakness, specifically looking at the US dollar strength, and also just from a technical standpoint, seeing that price is broken out of kind of this sideways movement that we were in for a couple of weeks, for about 3 weeks, I think we're going to see a little bit more of a rally in USD CAD. The dollar is picking up strength right now. So look for more upside on USD CAD. So very quickly, let me go ahead and recap my outlook. Sheldon, just real quick in the charts, Sheldon, you say every week things can change. Up to you to react to. Exactly, guys. It is okay for your analysis to have 1 week, to even have 1 month, 2 months, 3 months out of the year where your analysis is wrong. As long as more than 50% of the time your analysis is right and you're using proper risk management, you are going to be skating through the markets without any problems. So very quick recap for some of you guys that hopped on towards the end. Dollar index is my main focus this week. I am expecting dollar strength. I am looking for some appreciating in the dollar, meaning I am watching for sells on Euro USD, guys. I am watching for this head and shoulders to form. I'm going to look to see if and when this neckline breaks. I'm definitely going to be looking to short Euro dollar as long as this neckline breaks a couple pips lower. And pound yen, let me delete that. Pound yen, expecting more upside on pound yen. Dollar yen, expecting upside on dollar yen. And AUD USD, expecting downside on AUD USD. And USD CAD, expecting upside on USD CAD. So all of these pairs, USD CAD, AUD USD, USD dollar yen, pound yen, and euro dollar are all going to be on my watch list. Those are going to be like the 5 pairs that I'm mainly focused on this week. And so I'm going to be looking to see if we can get price action to move in our favor, look for a strengthening dollar, but definitely look for this correction. Oh, and we also, check this out, guys. Here's another thing too. Look at the inverse of the dollar index as well. We have an inverted head and shoulders as well. So here's the left shoulder, the bottom of the left shoulder. Here's the head. And here is the right shoulder. So you guys see that? So, and then we go up to our previous level of support, which could be somewhere, we could say like this area, maybe a little bit higher. So our next level where we might see the dollar move up to is going to be somewhere around here, most likely, because we can see this previous bear flag on the dollar, and then it actually broke, you guys can see, and then a retest before moving down to the area we're in now. So lots of potential, lots of buying potential on the dollar. So I think this analysis is very strong. This is, in my opinion, guys, this week is one of those weeks where it's like quote unquote, like free money, kind of like the price action is just very nice. Like this is not one of the weeks to sleep on the markets. I think we're going to see some nice price action. Obviously, all of that can change. So as I said in the beginning, take everything I am saying right now with a grain of salt. You know, my big disclaimer is this: I could be wrong, right? We could see the dollar continue to weaken, whatever, we could be completely wrong. But again, you know, we're all about increasing our chances and looking for the best opportunities. And I think the market is presenting these as the best opportunities right now. So watch to see what happens, guys. You know, I think there's a lot of upside on the dollar this week. So let's see if there's any questions in the chat. Kevin, you said the head and shoulders on Euro USD also coincides with your analysis on a strengthening US dollar. Exactly. Yeah. Some of you guys that are new, if you guys are new to Forex, this should be your number one correlation, in my opinion. And it's because it's true. The dollar index, this that we're looking at right now, if you guys don't use the dollar index, you guys are not familiar with the dollar index, by the way, this in short measures the strength of the dollar compared to, I think it's 6 or 8 currencies. I would need to look again. I always forget, but I think it's 6. And the biggest one being the euro. I think it makes up like 56% of the comparison of the basket to the index. But all you really need to know is when you're looking at the dollar index, if it's going up, that's good for the dollar. If it's going down, that is bad for the dollar. And it has a extremely, I would be as ballsy to say it probably has about a 99% negative correlation to Euro USD. I mean, you look at both of them and they look exactly the opposite, right? Obviously, Euro USD looks a little different because I have some markings up there, right? But if these were completely blank charts right now, they look the exact opposite. You know, do it on your own after you get off this webinar. You know, go look at the dollar index, go look at Euro USD, and look at they do the exact opposite. So if we're looking for the dollar index to move up, then we're definitely, you know, there's only one way the Euro USD is going to move: if the dollar moves up. That's the beauty of Forex, guys. That's one of the correlations that doesn't change, right? It doesn't change. It's not like sometimes it is, sometimes it doesn't. The dollar index always does or I guess you could say Euro USD always does the exact opposite of what the dollar index is doing. So that is something, I mean, that's one of the biggest tools that I use. Looking at the dollar index, guys, if you guys are wondering, like, you know, what's some of my strategy, you know, I obviously don't have time right now to go into my entire strategy. It's just based off of price action. But if you guys were to ask me what do I base my analysis off of the most, I would have to tell you the dollar index, because that tells me what's happening. And if you guys notice, all 9 pairs that I trade over here, with the exception of pound yen, but we know pound yen has a negative correlation to gold. Look, there's the US dollar on every single pair that I trade. So that's what I was saying in the beginning. We really only need to analyze what's happening with the dollar, because if we know what's happening with the dollar, we can kind of understand what's happening to the rest of these pairs that we're trading, including pound yen. Even though there's no dollar in that, we know that pound yen has a very negative correlation to gold. And then we know what gold does versus the dollar. That has a negative correlation. So essentially you could say the dollar index and pound yen have a positive correlation to each other, but of course they aren't going to look the same. So anyways, guys, I'm going to stop talking your ears off. I hope that this analysis was useful. If you make some money this week, if you guys like this style of teaching, you can check out our premium group, our paid group at positivetraders.us. I actually do a webinar just like this every single Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for our premium members. A little bit more in depth. If we're looking at taking a trade or we're in a trade, we talk about, you know, why I have my stop loss where I do, why I have my entry where I do, what made me take the trade, that type of thing. So we get a little bit more into the psychology and definitely the educational side in the premium group. But you can check out more information on our website, positivetraders.us. This is uploaded to YouTube. If you're watching the recording on YouTube, leave a like, leave a comment if this helped you out this week. But other than that, guys, have a safe week trading. Remember, above everything, doesn't matter how good a setup is, remember to keep that risk management. Keep a robot-like mentality with your risk management. So I'll catch you guys, those of you guys that are in the free group, I'll catch you guys on Sunday's Outlook next week. Those of you guys that are in the premium group, I'll catch you guys in about 24 hours on tomorrow's live webinar. Other than that, guys, if you have any questions, reach out to me. Slack, Telegram, Instagram, Facebook, doesn't matter how you guys reach out to me. I will find some time to reply to you. But yeah, have a great rest of your week, guys. Take it easy.